Hey everyone, me again. You guys know how much I love trying out new bases and foundations, so I was really excited when I saw this new range from Primark. So today I'm going to be reviewing their new My Perfect colour range. So in this range there is a liquid foundation, there's also a liquid concealer, as well as a pressed powder and a mineral powder. I was really impressed firstly by the shade selection when I saw these at my local Primark. I believe there are about 16 shades of each product, going from Porcelain, which is the palest shade, and it goes right up to some really deep dark shades as well, which is always a good thing. I was also really impressed by the price point, so everything is really cheap. The liquid foundation is £2.50, the liquid concealer is £2, and the pressed powder and the mineral powder are both £2 as well. So the first thing I'm going to try out is the Perfect Finish foundation. This claims to be medium coverage with a semi-matte finish. What's really interesting is that this actually comes with 35 ml of product. Most of the foundations in my collection are 30 ml. So not only is it considerably cheaper than the average foundation, but you're also getting more product for your money, making it even better value. I really like the kind of basic, simple packaging. I feel like this is quite ideal for traveling because it's, you know, a plastic squeeze bottle. One thing I do want to say though is that a lot of product tends to come out when you squeeze it like this, so you always end up using a bit more product than you intended to. But yeah, just keep that in mind, that you will probably end up wasting a bit of product with this. So I'm just going to dab some of this on half of my face. It does have a kind of baby scent to it as well, like baby lotion. I'm just using my Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge to blend this in. Usually when I get a new base product, I tend to try it out with the sponge because I feel like you can't really go wrong with a damp sponge, can you? I'm not getting a huge amount of coverage straight away, but I can see that it's definitely evened out my skin tone. It's kind of softened the redness a little bit, and it doesn't really look like I'm wearing makeup either, which I really like. So I'm just going to put some more product straight on the sponge and just see if I can layer it up a bit. I actually really like this so far. I'm very surprised. For a £2.50 foundation, you don't really go in, you know, expecting very good results, but this looks really pretty. I am building it up quite a bit, so just keep that in mind if you've got, you know, problematic skin. I've got a lot of skin redness, so I kind of tend to use a bit more foundation than the average person anyway. This side of my face doesn't have any foundation on, and this side of my face has 2 layers. And I really like the effect. It doesn't look like I'm wearing makeup, it doesn't look thick or like it's caking in my pores, it's not exaggerating my skin texture. It actually looks really nice, and it's not the fullest coverage in the world, but it doesn't claim to be. I feel like if I still was at uni or if I went to school, I'm a bit old for that now, don't tell anyone, but if I was a student I would really like this to just put on every day. But yeah, very impressed so far. I'm going to try putting it on with a brush now and just see what I think. This is the Real Techniques buffing brush. This is one of my favourite foundation brushes. I'm just going to dot some more product on my face and then blend it in with the brush. So I do find with the brush it's maybe a little bit more difficult to layer the product, but if you just want to get one even coat all around your face, then a brush might work really well. And I don't tend to need as much product with the brush either, which is nice because I do feel like I need quite a lot of it to get the look that I want. But I am just going to go over it with the damp sponge because I kind of like the finish more and how it looks on my skin personally. So yeah, I'm just going to bounce everything in. I'm just building this up a little bit more over areas of redness on my skin, and it's actually covering everything very well. It's very buildable if you're using a damp makeup sponge. I don't think it says on the bottle that it's designed for dry skin. No, it doesn't actually, but I feel like I've got kind of combination dry skin, like it's really dry and textured on my forehead, and then sort of normal to oily in my T-zone, and then normal to dry-ish depending on the time of year everywhere else. I almost feel like it's a bit like a BB cream because it's quite moisturising on my skin, but it's still got that bit of coverage to it. So as I've got quite naturally dry skin, I feel like something like this works really nicely for me. It even looks nice on my forehead where I've got quite a lot of skin texture, and that's very rare for a foundation. So this is my face with the foundation on, and I'm actually really pleasantly surprised. I don't know what I was expecting. I've seen some other reviews, so I didn't think it would be a bad product or a terrible product. I don't think I would have spent my money on it if I thought that it would be awful, but I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I do either, especially considering the cost. I do really like the shade. I think the shade matches my skin tone very well. This is the palest one, so if you're any paler than me, then they might not have something quite right for you, or maybe you could mix this with a white foundation. But personally, I think that for me, this looks really nice. So I'm going to try the concealer now, and hopefully I'll be equally as impressed with that. I quite like the packaging for this as well. The applicator is a bit unusual. I wonder if it's supposed to be like a sponge applicator, but the sponge just fell off on this one and it's in the tube somewhere. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but it's like a sort of plastic tip thing, like you just like a scraper. So I'm wondering if the applicator was faulty on this one, or if it's supposed to be like that. I'm actually not entirely sure. So with the concealer, I'm just going to take some out of the tube and put it on the back of my hand, and then I'm just going to apply this to my face using a mix of my fingers and my damp beauty blender again. So I'm just taking a little bit under my eyes. I don't tend to do the triangle thing because, you know, I'm in my late 20s now and I've got a few little eye creases. Oh wow, that's actually covered really well. And there's a little bit of redness just here. Wow, that's really covered it. Okay, I like this. It's quite a creamy concealer, so I don't know how you're going to get along with this if you have oily skin, but the coverage is a lot better than I was expecting. And the shade again is excellent. Because I'm so pale, I really struggle to find paler concealers, especially because I'm a drugstore girl. I don't really shop high-end. So yeah, to find a really good match concealer for £2 is amazing. It really reminds me of the 17 Staytime concealer actually, except I think it's got a little bit more coverage to it. But I'm just putting it again on one side of my face so that you can see the difference. So once again, this is the side with concealer and this is the side without. I feel like it's really brightened my eyes, but it hasn't caused any kind of creases or fine lines to appear, which happens quite a lot when I put concealer on because, as I said, I am in my late 20s now. It's covered up the redness on my nose and on this part of my forehead really nicely as well. I don't have any active breakouts, but I do have some scars from when I have suffered with that kind of thing in the past, and I feel like it's kind of covered that area really nicely as well. I put whatever was left on the sponge and just dabbled that over the areas of redness on my cheek, and that seemed to do quite a nice job as well. So I'm just going to put some on the other side and then I'll get back to you. So my liquid products are all done now, and I have to say I'm actually really impressed. I'm really loving how it looks and I think it's really good, and I can genuinely see myself reaching for these again in the future, especially the concealer, which I am very pleasantly surprised with. I think if you have dry skin, you're going to really get on with these. I don't know about oily skin so much, just because they're such creamy kind of formulas, so if they kind of set a little bit later on, then I'll let you know. But just right now, it does feel a little bit kind of tacky on my face, so I would say this probably wouldn't be ideal for an oily skin situation. I'm going to try the powder products now, and I was originally going to put on the My Perfect Colour powder and just set my entire face with this, and I was thinking of doing the mineral powder, the loose powder, in its own separate review, because people tend to wear mineral foundation on its own without liquid products underneath. But I don't know, when I swatched this, it kind of looked a bit darker than the mineral foundation, so I'm not really sure. They're both in the Porcelain shade, but this one does look a little bit darker. So just to start off with, I think I'm going to take the pressed powder and I'm just going to put that kind of on the outer parts of my face and on the areas of redness over here. and I'm going to see how it looks there. If it looks like it's the right shade, then I might carry on for the rest of my face if I really like it. But if it does look too dark, then I'll put some of the mineral foundation over it. So let's give that a go. It's quite powdery. There is quite a bit of fallout. That's been my experience with other powder products from Primark. That's a tongue twister in the past as well, so I'm not hugely surprised by that. It did come with a little sponge thing in the pressed powder, but I'm going to use my Real Techniques setting brush. Just personal preference. But the sponge is handy to have if you're going to take this on the go. It's also got a little mirror in there as well, which I really like. So I'm just putting it on the outer parts of my face, and I do feel like it is a little smidgen too dark, but the coverage is really good. So I'm going to take a little bit and just blend it down my neck as well, just to give my face a little bit of shape. It's such a shame that it's too dark actually, because I've bought a face powder like this from Primark before that was also too dark for me, but I thought because they've expanded their shade range so much that this one would be better. But there wasn't a tester out when I bought it, so oh well, I guess it's all trial and error, isn't it? But that does give me a chance to test out the loose powder, the mineral foundation. I don't think it would be ideal for traveling because there's no kind of usually with mineral foundations there's like a little twisty thing which just stops powder from spilling out when this is in your makeup bag and you're on the go, but there isn't one in here. It's just this little sifter, and that's about it. So I think this would probably spill out quite a lot when you're on the go, but I can probably use this at home mostly. Anyway, I'm just going to start out with that much and just see how I get on. I might need to come back for more later, or that might be far too much, who knows. I will say that both the powders are setting down the foundation really nicely, because the foundation was so creamy that I was kind of worried that it wouldn't set, but the powders are doing a really good job of setting them. So I think that this is quite a drying powder, like it seems to be kind of just gathering in my smile lines a bit. Quite a lot of mineral foundations do that though, so what usually happens is they sort of start to blend better with my skin once they've been on for a couple of hours, so I'm hoping that that's what will happen here. I really like this because I feel like it's giving my skin an extra little bit of coverage on top of the foundation, so it's really good if you're like me and you have areas of redness, because you can kind of build up the powder over the foundation and concealer and get a really nice effect. So I've got the mineral foundation on this side of my face, and as you can see it looks a lot more matte. It just looks a bit more even. I really like this. I've got another mineral foundation in my collection that was I think about £15, and in terms of the shade and the coverage I think this is really similar. One thing I have noticed though, I don't think the powder products are as pale as the liquid ones, so I do feel like these powder products have made my face a little bit darker. That's not the end of the world, I can definitely get away with it, but I'm just letting you know in case you're paler than me. So in the future I might try applying these foundations and then setting it with a translucent powder and just seeing what I think then. I think I might like that a little bit better. So here is my face so far, and I'm really loving the results. I think my skin looks a lot more even, I think the coverage is really nice, the shade is really good, and yeah, I'm really liking it. So I'm just going to put on the rest of my makeup now, and then I'll come back and let you know some of my final thoughts. Okay, so this is how the rest of my face is looking now, and I have to say, I really like how my base has turned out. I didn't have any issue blending my other products on top of it, like my highlighter or my bronzer or anything like that. And it looks really nice, like the coverage is good, but it still looks like a fairly natural sort of finish. I do like this, and I can see myself reaching for particularly the liquid products again. I think the foundation and concealer are really nice. I don't honestly see myself picking up the pressed powder just because it is a little bit dark for me. I might try the mineral powder on its own at some point, or I might just target it over specific areas of redness next time I use it, because I feel like it might have been a little bit too much to just put that on top of the liquid foundation. It's fine right now because I'm filming and I need that extra bit of coverage, so I'm going to be filming some other videos after this one. But on a day-to-day basis I'll probably just wear the liquid foundation and the liquid concealer with a little bit of translucent powder over it. Let me know if you want to see a video where I wear the mineral powder on its own, maybe in a dedicated review or maybe in a get ready with me or something like that. Let me know in the comments and I will film it for you. I'm really happy that there's such a big shade range. I'm really happy with the price point. I think it's amazing. So I'm going to film some other videos now. So I'm going to be sat under a ring light for a good couple of hours. I'll let you know if I needed to touch up at all or if I get a bit dewy. But I'll check in after I've done some more filming and let you know how it wore. Hey everyone, it's a bit later now. I've actually been filming videos for a couple of hours, just like I said I was going to be. So I've been sat under a ring light for about 2.5 hours now, and there are other lights in this room on the background as well. Basically this room gets really hot when I'm filming because of all the lights in here, and I shut all the doors and windows to block out all the noise. So this room does get hotter and hotter and hotter while I'm filming. And I have to say, with that in mind, this foundation has actually held up really well. So I don't know whether it was just the foundation on its own or whether it's because I added the mineral powder on top of it, which is typically quite long lasting. But either way, I am really happy with how it's held up, but it still looks really fresh. It doesn't look like it's faded or gone cakey or anything along those lines. When I first put on the mineral foundation, I think my face did feel a little bit cakier. It just looked a bit drier, but now that it's really meshed over the last couple of hours, it's sort of got a bit more dewy and just looks really nice. So all in all, I am very, very impressed with the My Perfect Colour products. Again, not a massive fan of the pressed powder, but I can see how that's definitely going to work for people with a darker skin tone than me, and people who have oily skin as well, or people who just want that extra bit of coverage with their powder. You are really going to like it. So I think there's something in the range for everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If there's anything else that you'd like me to review, just let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you're new around here. I make a new video every Sunday at 9 AM and it would be lovely to see you again. And hopefully I will see you soon. Bye!